Welcome, everyone. Today we begin our exploration of one of the most dynamic and essential systems in the human body, the integumentary system. You might not think about your skin very often unless you're applying lotion, getting a sunburn, or maybe admiring a tattoo or piercing. But this system does so much more than contribute to your appearance. The integumentary system includes your skin, hair, nails, and various glands. It acts as the first line of defense against environmental hazards, helps regulate your body temperature, and even plays a role in sensory reception. In this chapter, we'll explore the structure and functions of this vital system, and we'll also look at some of the common conditions that can affect it. Whether you're looking in the mirror or studying anatomy, there's a lot more to your skin than meets the eye. Let's dive in. After studying the chapter, you will be able to describe the functions of the integumentary system and the role it plays in homeostasis. Describe the layers of the skin and the functions of each layer. Describe the accessory structures of the skin and the functions of each. Describe the changes that occur in the integumentary system during the aging process. Discuss several common diseases, disorders, and injuries that affect the integumentary system. This slide introduces what we mean by the integumentary system. At first glance, it may seem like we're just talking about the skin you can see, but this system includes all the accessory structures that support and interact with the skin, such as hair, nails, and glands. Although it contributes greatly to how we look on the outside, the integumentary system has many vital physiological roles. It protects against pathogens, helps regulate temperature, prevents water loss, and supports sensory perception. So, while we may associate it with appearance, it's important to recognize the integumentary system as a complex and highly functional part of human anatomy. Let's take a moment to appreciate just how significant your skin really is. It accounts for about 16% of your total body weight, which makes it the heaviest and most extensive organ system in the body, spanning 1.5 to 2 square meters in area for an average adult. This isn't just a passive covering. It's a highly dynamic barrier that protects your internal organs from environmental hazards, pathogens, UV radiation, and mechanical injuries. Because of its constant exposure to external stressors like sun, pollution, and microbes, your skin requires daily care to remain healthy. This includes hydration, proper hygiene, and protection from excessive sun exposure. The health of the integumentary system is directly tied to your overall well-being, so we'll explore not only its structure and function, but also how to keep it functioning at its best. Welcome to our deeper dive into the integumentary system. We're starting with an important reminder. Your skin is not just something you see in the mirror or decorate with tattoos and piercings. It's a highly complex, multifunctional organ. The skin is composed of several types of tissues, epithelial, connective, nerve, and even muscle, that work together as a single unit to protect your body and keep it functioning properly. Together with its accessory structures, like hair, nails, and glands, the skin forms the integumentary system, which serves many crucial roles. These include preventing water loss, regulating body temperature, shielding you from pathogens, and relaying sensory information like pressure and temperature to the brain. It's also the largest organ system in the human body. In an adult, it covers around 1.5 to 2 square meters and makes up approximately 16% of total body weight. That's an impressive footprint for something we often overlook. So as we continue through this unit, keep in mind, the skin is not just a passive barrier. It's a vital and dynamic organ system, essential for survival. Let's take a moment to reflect. How do you usually think about your skin? For many people, it's tied to appearance. Maybe it's a canvas for self-expression with makeup, tattoos, or piercings. Maybe it's something we try to fix or improve with creams or treatments. But beneath those everyday thoughts is a deeper reality. Your skin is a vital, functioning organ. It regulates your internal temperature, allows you to feel heat and pain, and serves as the first line of defense against the environment. This slide is meant to shift our perspective. While aesthetics are a common way we interact with our skin, we often overlook its complexity and importance in keeping us alive and healthy. So as we explore the integumentary system further, I encourage you to go beyond the mirror and begin to see the skin for what it really is, an essential, intelligent, and dynamic organ system. The skin is made up of three primary layers, each with distinct structures and functions. First, we have the epidermis. It's the outermost layer you see and touch, and it's made primarily of keratinized, stratified, squamous epithelium. This layer is avascular, meaning it doesn't have its own blood supply. It relies on the dermis below for nutrients. Beneath that is the dermis, which is thicker and contains blood vessels, nerve endings, sweat glands, oil glands, and hair follicles. This is the layer that provides most of the skin's strength and elasticity, and it supports the epidermis. Finally, below the dermis is the hypodermis, or superficial fascia. While it's not technically part of the skin, it plays a vital role. It anchors the skin to underlying structures like muscle and bone, and provides cushioning and insulation thanks to its composition of areolar and adipose connective tissue. Understanding these layers sets the stage for our deep dive into how the skin protects, senses, and adapts to our environment. The epidermis is the outermost layer of the skin and plays a vital role in protection. It's made of keratinized, stratified, squamous epithelial cells, which means the surface cells are packed with the protein keratin, making them tough and water-resistant. The epidermis contains either 4 or 5 layers, depending on where it is on the body. In most places, there are 4 layers, but in thick skin, like the palms and soles, there's an additional layer called the stratum lucidum. One important detail is that the epidermis is avascular. It doesn't contain blood vessels. Instead, it receives nutrients by diffusion from the capillaries in the dermis. The primary cell type in the epidermis is the keratinocyte, which produces keratin and forms a protective barrier. But there are also specialized cells. Melanocytes produce melanin for UV protection. Merkel cells serve as touch receptors, and Langerhans cells function as immune defenders. Together, these cells make the epidermis more than just a surface. It's a highly specialized layer that defends, senses, and adapts. The epidermis is arranged into layers called strata, with cells that change in shape and function as they move outward. The stratum basale is the deepest layer. It contains basal cells, which are stem cells actively dividing to form new keratinocytes. It also houses melanocytes and Merkel cells. Above that is the stratum spinosum, which gets its spiny appearance from cell junctions called desmosomes. Here, keratinocytes begin producing keratin and secrete lipids that contribute to the skin's waterproof barrier. The stratum granulosum contains cells that have started to die and flatten. Their granules contain keratin precursors and lipids, forming a tough, water-resistant layer. In thick skin only, like the palms and soles, there is an additional stratum lucidum. These are clear, dead cells packed with elidin, a protein derived from keratohyalin. The outermost layer is the stratum corneum. This layer is made of dead, flattened, keratinized cells that provide a durable barrier against environmental damage and microbial invasion. These cells are shed regularly and replaced by those below. Together, these layers create a barrier that is strong, flexible, and self-renewing every 4 weeks. Or the stratum basale, also known as the stratum germinativum, is the bottommost layer of the epidermis and plays a foundational role in skin regeneration. This layer is made of a single row of cuboidal basal cells, which are stem cells that continuously divide. These new keratinocytes push older cells upward through the layers of the epidermis. Several specialized cells are also found here. Melanocytes, which produce the pigment melanin and help shield the skin from UV damage, and Merkel cells, which are involved in sensing light touch, especially in areas like the fingertips. The stratum basale is tightly connected to the underlying dermis via a basement membrane. Dermal papillae, finger-like projections from the dermis, interlock with this layer, strengthening the connection and increasing surface area for nutrient diffusion. This junction is also where fingerprints originate. In the growing fetus, the folds between the stratum basale and dermal papillae create the ridge patterns unique to each person. The stratum spinosum lies just above the stratum basale and is composed of 8 to 10 layers of keratinocytes. These cells are produced by mitosis in the basal layer and pushed upward into this region. What gives this layer its name is the spiny appearance of the cells when viewed under a microscope. This appearance is caused by structures called desmosomes, anchoring junctions that interlock cells together and strengthen the tissue. The spines are actually an artifact of the staining process, but they do reflect how tightly connected these cells are. In this layer, keratinocytes begin producing keratin proteins and glycolipids, which contribute to the skin's strength and waterproofing properties. Importantly, the stratum spinosum contains Langerhans cells, a type of dendritic immune cell that acts like a macrophage, patrolling for pathogens, engulfing bacteria, and helping to coordinate immune responses. This layer is a key part of the skin's immune surveillance system. The stratum granulosum sits above the stratum spinosum and consists of 3 to 5 layers of keratinocytes that are undergoing a major transformation. As these cells migrate upward, they begin to flatten and accumulate keratohyalin granules, which stain dark and give this layer its characteristic grainy appearance. These granules are rich in proteins that will later assemble into keratin fibers. At this point, the cells also start to produce lipid-rich secretions, which will coat their membranes and contribute to the waterproof barrier of the skin. Crucially, this is where cells begin to die. Their nuclei and organelles disintegrate, leaving behind protein-rich, flattened structures that will form part of the stratum lucidum in thick skin or stratum corneum in both skin types. This layer is a turning point. Keratinocytes shift from living cells to protective, structural components. It's essential to the development of the skin's strong outer barrier. At the very top of the epidermis are the stratum lucidum and stratum corneum, which together form the skin's outermost barrier to the environment. The stratum lucidum is a thin, translucent layer found only in thick skin. That means areas like the palms of the hands, soles of the feet, and fingertips. The cells here are dead, flattened, and filled with eledon, a lipid-rich protein derived from keratohyalin. Eledon gives the lucidum its clear appearance and adds an additional layer of water resistance. Above that is the stratum corneum, the outermost layer of the epidermis. It consists of up to 30 to 35 layers of anucleate, fully keratinized cells. These dead cells are tough, dry, and tightly packed, forming a durable shield against mechanical damage, pathogens, and water loss. This layer is constantly shedding. You lose millions of these dead skin cells each day. The entire stratum corneum is replaced about every 4 weeks, making it a living system of self-renewal. Cosmetic procedures like microdermabrasion aim to remove this uppermost layer, to reveal the newer cells below and encourage fresh growth. Moving beneath the epidermis, we enter the dermis, often referred to as the core of the integumentary system. It's a strong, supportive layer that anchors and nourishes the epidermis and houses many important structures. The papillary layer is the upper region of the dermis. It's made of loose, areolar connective tissue, which allows space for small blood vessels, immune cells, and sensory receptors. One key feature here is the dermal papillae, finger-like projections that interlock with the stratum basale above. These papillae not only strengthen the connection between the dermis and epidermis, but also increase the surface area for nutrient exchange and diffusion. This layer contains Meissner corpuscles, which are touch receptors sensitive to light pressure. Below that is the reticular layer, which forms the bulk of the dermis. It's composed of dense, irregular connective tissue, packed with collagen and elastin fibers that give skin its strength and flexibility. This layer is also home to the blood vessels, sweat glands, sebaceous oil glands, hair follicles, and nerve endings. It's the powerhouse of the skin, providing durability, hydration retention, and sensory perception. Damage to the dermis, like deep cuts or burns, can disrupt these vital functions and lead to scarring or impaired skin function.
Beneath the dermis lies the hypodermis, also known as a subcutaneous layer or superficial fascia. While it's not technically considered part of the skin, it plays a critical supporting role. This layer is composed of areolar connective tissue and abundant adipose tissue, which serves as the body's main fat storage site. One of the hypodermis's primary roles is to anchor the skin to underlying structures like muscles and bones, while still allowing for some flexibility and movement. The adipose tissue here serves several important purposes. It insulates the body, helping to maintain internal temperature. It cushions and protects internal organs and tissues from mechanical trauma. It also acts as an energy reserve, storing lipids in fat-storing cells called adipocytes. Additionally, the hypodermis contains larger blood vessels that supply the dermis above, and sensory receptors that contribute to touch and pressure detection. Fat distribution in this layer varies by hormones, genetics, age, and gender. And while it's often the focus in discussions of body weight, it plays a critical biological role in protection and metabolism.
Skin color is not determined by just one factor, but by the interaction of three main pigments: melanin, keratin, and hemoglobin. First, melanin is the most important pigment. It's produced by melanocytes in the stratum basale, then packaged into vesicles called melanosomes and transferred to surrounding keratinocytes. The more melanin present, the darker the skin. Melanin also plays a critical protective role by absorbing UV radiation and preventing DNA damage in skin cells. There are two types: eumelanin, brown-black, and pheomelanin, red-yellow. And your genetic makeup determines how much and which type you produce. Next, keratin is a dietary pigment found in orange and yellow vegetables. It accumulates in the skin and can give it a yellowish tint, especially in the palms and soles. Keratin is also important for producing vitamin A, which supports vision and skin health. Lastly, hemoglobin, the oxygen-carrying pigment in red blood cells, influences skin tone through blood flow and oxygenation. For example, well-oxygenated blood gives the skin a healthy pink color, while low oxygen levels can cause cyanosis, a bluish discoloration seen in medical emergencies like asthma attacks or heart failure. So, skin color is a complex and dynamic trait, influenced by genetics, diet, and circulatory health.
The skin isn't just made up of the epidermis and dermis. It's also equipped with several accessory structures that develop from the epidermis and play vital physiological roles. First, we have hair, which is a keratinized filament emerging from follicles that originate in the dermis but are formed by the epidermis. Hair serves many functions. It protects, helps detect light touch through sensory innervation, and in animals, aids in insulation. You'll find vellus hairs, which are thin and light, and terminal hairs, which are thicker, like those on the scalp, eyebrows, and eyelashes. Next, we have nails, which are composed of densely packed dead keratinocytes. They form from the nail matrix, which lies under the skin at the nail root, and serve to protect the fingertips and aid in precision grasping. Sweat glands are also epidermal in origin and include two types: eccrine-merocrine glands, which are distributed across the skin and function in thermoregulation, producing a watery sweat that cools the body; apocrine glands, which are associated with hair follicles in specific regions, like the armpits and groin, secrete a thicker substance that contributes to body odor after bacterial breakdown. Lastly, sebaceous glands are oil glands, usually connected to hair follicles. They produce sebum, a lipid-rich substance that lubricates the skin and hair, protects against water loss, and has antimicrobial properties. These glands become more active at puberty due to hormonal changes. All of these structures originate from the epidermis, but as they develop, they often grow down into the dermis or hypodermis, highlighting the close functional and structural relationships between all layers of the skin. Hair is a keratinized filament that grows out of a follicle, which is an invagination of the epidermis deep into the dermis. The base of the follicle, called the hair bulb, contains mitotically active basal cells that form the hair matrix, similar to the stratum basale in skin. As new cells are produced, older ones are pushed upward and become keratinized and die, forming the hair shaft that we see. Hair is completely non-living past the skin surface. Hair serves multiple functions. It protects the scalp from UV radiation. Eyelashes, nose hair, and ear hair trap debris. Eyebrows divert sweat. The hair root plexus, a nerve network, allows hair to act as a sensitive touch receptor.
The erector pili muscle causes goosebumps to help retain heat in cold conditions or display emotion. Hair color is determined by melanin and texture by the shape of the follicle.
There are two main types of sweat glands, both formed by coiled tubular structures that originate in the epidermis and reside in the dermis or even hypodermis. Eccrine glands are widespread and release a hypotonic sweat made mostly of water, salts, and antimicrobial peptides. Their primary role is cooling the body through evaporative heat loss. Apocrine glands are larger, develop later in life, and are found in regions like the armpits and groin. They release a thicker fluid into hair follicles which bacteria break down, causing body odor. These glands are regulated by both nervous stimulation and hormonal activity, especially during stress or puberty. While both types help maintain homeostasis, apocrine glands may also be involved in pheromone signaling. Sebaceous glands are oil-producing glands usually found next to hair follicles. They secrete sebum, a mixture of lipids, directly into the hair follicle, and the hair acts as a wick, drawing the oil to the surface. Sebum functions to moisturize and soften the stratum corneum, create a water-resistant barrier, inhibit microbial growth due to its fatty acid content. These glands are inactive in childhood and become stimulated by hormones during puberty, which explains the increase in oily skin and acne during adolescence. Nails are accessory structures made of densely packed dead keratinocytes. The nail forms in the nail root where stratum basale cells divide and push the nail plate forward. The nail bed under the nail is rich in blood vessels, giving nails their pink appearance. The pale, half-moon shape at the base of the nail is the lunula, which covers the thickened matrix. Nails serve key functions: protecting the distal digits from mechanical stress, providing backing support for grasping and manipulating small objects. Like hair, nails grow continuously, and changes in nail shape or color can reflect underlying health condition. The integumentary system is not just a barrier. It performs a wide range of essential physiological functions. First, protection. The skin shields internal tissues from microbes, harsh chemicals, UV rays, and dehydration. The stratum corneum's keratin and lipids help retain moisture. Sweat contains dermicidin, a natural antibiotic. Second, sensation. The skin has a rich array of sensory receptors, including Merkel cells, Meissner corpuscles, Pacinian corpuscles, and hair root plexuses. These detect pressure, touch, temperature, pain, and even insects on the skin. Third, thermoregulation. Sweat glands cool the body, and dermal blood vessels either dilate to release heat or constrict to conserve it. This is managed by the sympathetic nervous system. Fourth, secretion. Through sweat, the skin helps eliminate salts, urea, and ammonia, though this role is minor compared to the kidneys. Conditions like cystic fibrosis alter sweat composition and can affect salt balance. Fifth, vitamin D synthesis. UVB light triggers the production of inactive vitamin D in the epidermis. It's converted to the active form in the kidneys, which is crucial for calcium and phosphate absorption and thus bone health. Finally, the hypodermis stores fat, cushions internal organs, and insulates the body against temperature extremes. Each of these functions supports homeostasis, keeping the internal environment stable and protected. The skin is your body's first line of defense, its natural armor. The outer layer, particularly the stratum corneum, is rich in keratin and glycolipids, creating a waterproof and abrasion-resistant shield. This barrier defends against UV rays, environmental chemicals, pathogens, and physical damage. In addition, sweat glands secrete dermicidin, a natural antibiotic that inhibits microbial overgrowth on the surface of the skin. Even something as everyday as a cut, a piercing, or a tattoo breaches this defense. And though popular, such breaches can lead to infections or transmission of blood-borne diseases if not properly managed. The skin is a major sensory organ, equipped with an intricate network of receptors and nerves that detect environmental changes. Hair root plexuses detect movement, like an ant crawling on your arm. Meissner corpuscles in the dermal papillae detect light touch. Pacinian corpuscles, deeper in the dermis and hypodermis, detect vibration and pressure. Merkel cells, found in the stratum basale, also help detect fine touch. These signals are quickly sent
to the central nervous system, helping you respond to your surroundings, whether by swatting a bug or pulling away from a hot object. Your skin plays a central role in regulating body temperature through both sweating and vascular adjustments, coordinated by the sympathetic nervous system. When body temperature rises, eccrine sweat glands produce sweat, which evaporates and cools the skin. Dermal blood vessels dilate, vasodilation, increasing blood flow near the surface to release heat, causing the skin to redden. In cold environments, blood vessels constrict, vasoconstriction, reducing heat loss and helping preserve core temperature even if the skin itself becomes cold or pale. Without this system, we'd quickly overheat or lose too much heat during temperature extremes.
Sweat glands don't just cool the body, they also secrete small amounts of waste. Sweat is mostly water but also contains salt, ammonia, and urea. Though minimal compared to the kidneys or GI tract, this function can help slightly detoxify the body during heavy sweating. Conditions like cystic fibrosis cause abnormally high sodium chloride concentrations in sweat, which can lead to electrolyte imbalances during prolonged exertion. When skin is exposed to UVB radiation, it produces a precursor to vitamin D, which is later activated in the kidneys to form calcitriol. This hormone is essential for calcium and phosphorus absorption, which helps build and maintain strong bones. Deficiency can lead to rickets in children and osteomalacia in adults, both involving soft or misshapen bones. Vitamin D is also linked to immune health and may help reduce the risk of certain infections and cancers. While we can get vitamin D from foods and supplements, sunlight remains the most natural source.